Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Nick, and today we are talking about one of my very favorite topics, in fact, forgiveness.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set. Well, hello, Kisma.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
Well, it's a beautiful day here in sunny Carlsbad.
It is warm, toasty.
Yeah.
Like the whole country feels toasty. I keep hearing there are people from Arizona at the grocery store last night, and they were like, oh, it's 114 in Tucson. I was like, that sucks.
Yeah, that does. Yeah, oof, yeah. We just talked to my folks in Michigan, and they said it's super hot there, like a heat wave, you know, and the humid heat there.
It's tough.
Well, it's one of the reasons that I love San Diego.
I know you do. You like it.
I really do.
Yeah.
You know, all that time I lived in Michigan. And
it was tough. And when we traveled to India that summer, your instinctual center did not do so well.
I didn't like that.
We were in Chennai. It was hot.
Super hot. Oh, remember that? I got sun poisoning.
You got sun poisoning, heat poisoning.
They tried to feed me all those mangoes.
Yeah.
That was sick.
And
like,
you
what's
ate
wrong
mangoes.
with this guy?
I know. Yeah.
Well, it was kind of exciting. So we did something today that we don't do very often.
And that
was to actually do an energy mastery session, a paramita session together.
We did.
It's not something that we do very often. It's kind of fun though. It's kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm. Especially when I'm the one on the hot seat. It's always fun.
Well, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
There's an easy part about it. I mean, I don't know, for people out there, I don't know. I've heard of like coach type people where they coach one another and they're like,
oh yeah, it's not so good.
That seems like a bad idea. I mean, that's part of the nice part about the technology is it does help you to stay really objective without getting super twisted up in that. But honestly speaking, like there's a reason that we only do that, you know, on certain occasions and rarely. I think it's nice to stay in our own lanes and
Although,
for the most part.
I do have many good ideas for you from time to time, whether you choose to take them up to you. But I do see things.
I take many of your ideas.
I know. Got that kind of brain over here.
She does. She's got that awkward look on her face, and she's giving me that look of like, let's move on with the topic.
Let's move on. It's a big topic today.
Big topic is forgiveness. And it's really one of my favorite topics ever because when I look at our world and I see, especially in our country in particular, you know, the United States, we're seeing a lot of conflict, a lot of division, a lot of digging in of the heels and need to be rights, and painting a whole bunch of people with the same brush and just making them all right or all wrong, and it's
a lot of blame
going on. Yeah,
it's very heavy.
Blaming this, blaming that, and blaming the other, and all of these things are totally solvable through forgiveness. I don't mean to give away the whole show right there, but ultimately, like forgiveness is the everything answer. It really is the everything antidote. If you want to solve something in your life, if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling really stuck in a certain way of being or a certain mood or mode or whatever that is, if you want to get out of that and into something different, forgiveness. If you're stuck at a certain level of even success in your business, forgiveness. I guarantee it.
It's true. I think the challenge is what many people perceive forgiveness to be.
Well, okay, that's interesting. What do you think that is?
Well, let me share what it isn't. It isn't to say it's okay that people do these horrible things. It isn't to say it's okay someone yelled in my face. It's not okay if someone steals from you. None of that is okay. And so forgiveness is not about, oh, I'm just going to forgive and la, la, la. It's really knowing right from wrong. However, understanding the human or the situation that created it. It's like Mark Twain's quote, "Forgiveness is the fragrance a violet emits when the foot crushes it." The violet knows that human's just going to walk around without seeing and crush it. Yet it emits the fragrance anyways.
The sweetness.
The sweetness. So it's like sometimes we will just know certain people will be a certain way. We can very clearly see that in a political discussion, things can go, awry. They can get very intense. And it's just, okay, that's what's happening. That's who that is. And not holding on to it. I think the lack of forgiveness is about holding on to the way we wanted it to be.
That's really beautiful. I'm just going to take a breath with that,
actually. Breathe in,
that is,
breathe out.
Really pretty profound.
Because think about any agitation of the mind is when we are attached to something being a certain way, to someone speaking a certain way, to someone acting a certain way. When we're attached to it going like that, the way we want, we'll be agitated, we'll be hurt, we'll be frustrated. So that objectivity, being able to view it and to let go when we don't get it the way we want it, to let go of, and sometimes it's intense hurt and pain.
Yeah.
Yet the forgiveness piece is really about us choosing to not carry that forward in our life, because life is too short and it is like a ball and chain.
Yeah. You're the one who will carry the weight.
You'll carry the weight.
Yeah. I really appreciate the point that you brought up about, it's okay. It's like people happy over the... It's
not fair because a lot of things are not okay.
Yeah, things that people do that are really, really not okay. It's not okay for people to steal from one another. It's not okay for people to, abuse one another, or do violence, whether it be mentally or emotionally or even physically. That's not okay.
Right.
Yet, okay, so that really brings up what I think is, like you said, one of the things that really twists people up is like, okay, well, how do you accept that that's not okay and still forgive?
I think the forgiveness is there's a couple pieces that I look at. Karma. And again, karma isn't good, bad, right, or wrong. It's a self-correcting system. And it's the trust in karma, whether it's the physical karma of, say, if someone steals from you or hurts you or someone you love, there's the law, the physical laws of our government, of local authorities. That's a form of karma. The other piece is when someone does something that is very painful and say it's not against the law, they will walk their karma. We don't need to get involved and say it's going to be bad karma. It's not our gig. Yet karma is a self-correcting system. And we know by now what we give out, we get back.
Yeah.
So there's a sense of being able to breathe and release and let go when we know the universe is actually taking care of it for us. Because I can speak for myself, and I'd be curious if any of our listeners feel this way. There's a sense of, well, if I forgive, nobody's going to know, nobody's going to make it right. I'm not going to be taken care of. Like there's a whole series of these thoughts. If we don't forgive, then none of this is going to happen. And actually it will all happen.
They're going to get away with it.
They're going to get away with it. And my pain's going to stick. And so that's the inspiration to forgive. When we forgive our pain, that's when our pain gets dissolved. That's when our ball and chain gets released. And God, source, universe, Brahman, whatever will take care of everything else.
Yeah.
Karma is real. And that piece of it, like if there isn't, the law of like government law, local law, whatever, if it's just a karmic law, it's going to take place.
Universal laws.
Universal laws.
Yeah.
All pervasive.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, there's the mind part of it that wants to see justice be done.
And that's attachment.
Yeah.
Too.
But also to protect others. If something really horrible happens to you, then, you want to make sure that doesn't happen to somebody else.
And we can still take action because this, again, forgiveness doesn't mean like, oh, okay, someone stole money, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Right.
No, actually, we do have a responsibility to follow the trail of the law to protect ourselves or get said stolen property back and to protect others. Yet we don't have to hold on to the act and the feeling of the act from the other person. So it's actually, there's a lot of strength behind that. Take the action, see it through, but don't hold on to it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really interesting part of it where, and it's see almost how we almost got trapped into that of like, when something happens, then justice has been done. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I, maybe they went to jail or maybe somebody did that same thing to them or whatever that thing is. It's like when that happens, then it's complete.
Right.
And ultimately it's not your business.
Right.
And I think that's a really, really hard part.
Yes.
To really fully own is that it's ultimately not your business. It is their karma to walk. And that is a part that you said so beautifully is that bill will always come due.
It will.
There's no escaping.
And we might not see it. And it is much lighter when we're like the trust in the universal laws.
Yeah.
And then back to ourselves, right? Like back to our own gig, back to cleaning up anything within us that needs to be aligned. Looking at why did I attract that into my life? Did I do anything? What did I do to create this event? If I'm allowing someone to hurt me, get back to our own place, because again, the forgiveness means we're letting go of the attachment to that other person event. And then we get to look inward and be like, what's the thing, if anything, but there usually is, that I did to attract this in?
Yeah.
And then clean that up so it's no longer moving forward.
Right.
Why would we want to carry anything else?
Well, that is a much bigger conversation. I want to back up to one really important point that we've kind of circled around, though, is that the bill always comes due. Okay, so if you can accept that for the other person, and that's one of the things that can really help you to let go and just say like, okay, what's done is done, and it's in motion now. Okay, it's on them to either clean that up or to not clean that up or to suffer the consequences in whatever way, shape, or form that shows up in their life. Okay, great. Now, if you understand that for them, and then you turn that for yourself and understand that every thought, every action that you take, everything that you do is creating karma.
Right.
Well, what are you going to do about that?
Be amazingly aware of every thought, word, and action. I'll tell you that much.
Because if it's true for them, it's true for you. And everything that you sow, you will reap. Okay. So it just, I think, not to scare people, but if you look around at your life and you feel fear, okay, good. Like that's good information, because if you're experiencing that, then there's likely some things that you've been doing that you're worried about, the consequences of that.
Right.
Fair. Okay, great. And now it's your job to clean that up.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And the beautiful opportunity is that it's true for you as well. So no matter what you've done, you have the ability to clean that up.
Right.
There's walking your karma, where you basically are just kind of hoping that you're going to get away with it, or just sitting around waiting for that bill to show up. And then there's proactive,
right,
which is really making the effort to clean that up. If you really hurt somebody, freaking apologize.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that hard. And well, it is that hard sometimes.
Challenging. We won't use the word hard.
All right, fair enough.
That's a good thing to look at, because #human, we do things that will require forgiveness from other people. It's not all about what everyone's doing to us. Like, we humans, there's a whole bunch of fascinating emotions swirling around, and we might snap at somebody, we might hurt somebody. And that's a great way to make amends. And then forgive yourself.
Do it as quickly as possible. Forgive yourself. Forgive them for whatever role. But the forgiveness thing is going in both directions.
It's
always, yeah. And just a little side note, I think we talked about this in a previous episode, but where we talked about those of you on your spiritual journey, like really actively on your spiritual journey, there is a quickening. So that can spin around a lot faster.
Right. The karma.
Yeah. So you have a little less lag time oftentimes to really clean that up.
It's best to get it all done, guys.
You want to do it quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't like when, I feel badly when people are surprised by that. It's like, oh yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. Right.
Is that it does speed up and turns around.
Right.
It can turn around a lot faster because you're basically accelerating everything in your life when you're really doing the work and really making that concerted effort.
Right.
The better tools you have, the faster you will go.
Absolutely.
So that becomes really important. What are some things that you can do? You can apologize and just make amends. One of the things that you can do is tithe.
Tithing money to an organization that's important to you, feeding homeless, donating clothes, tithing at your church, synagogue, temple. Like there's so much.
Yeah, there's so much that you can do. We support, if you like the podcast, by the way, and you want to donate, then go donate to Vedanta. VedantaWorld.org.
We'll put a link in our podcast.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's a great place because that's the reason that we have the podcast.
Yeah.
It really is based on the teachings of Swami Parthasarathi and everything that we've learned from him. And then certainly, our lives and business and together and all those other things that we bring to it. But ultimately the teachings behind this are from there.
Right.
And if you dig that, and that's a great place to donate to.
Right.
Another thing that I do, sometimes I usually do it on the sly. I don't always tell you about it when I do it. It was just not too long ago. I was working on some things. I was stressing out about some money stuff. And I was like, oh, this thing and that thing, and it was definitely causing some anxiety for me. And
organizing your taxes, were you?
I'd cut my cords. I'd done some of the things, and I'm like, dang, man, I haven't quite got it yet. So I went out to Vaughn's and I bought a couple loaves of bread, and I bought a big jar of peanut butter and jelly and some fruit and some water. And I went and I made 25 sack lunches.
That's great.
And just went around and found some homeless people to give it to.
That's amazing. That's such a great thing to do, everyone.
It felt, honestly, it really felt a lot better.
It's a simple thing. It doesn't take time. And when someone receives food who has hunger in their stomach, all of a sudden the perspective of life just levels very clearly.
Yeah. It's a really profound thing for me, actually. I don't usually talk about it. I'm a little, I don't want to say it's I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't usually talk about it.
These things are actually best when you just do them. Yeah. But I think it's worthwhile in the conversation because what I sense is when you do that kind of act and you see someone else in need and you're able with one simple sack lunch to change their world, forgiving somebody else is or self is a less of an ordeal because all of a sudden we appreciate everything that we have.
Yeah. And you don't have to go deep into your feels and process through it all. You can actually just go make a bunch of lunches and give them away and do the work and it will clean up more than you can imagine.
Right.
Going and feeding people is actually one of the most powerful ways that you can ever.
It really is.
Really clean stuff up for yourself. And, I don't know. It's just, I can't really speak highly enough of it. I remember we did that. Where was that? It was Santa Barbara, I think. Yeah. An really affluent area. And I thought, well,
you'd be surprised.
Yeah. And one of the most profound things for me that night was that it's how invisible the homeless are or the homeless can be. You walk right by and you have no idea.
Yeah. Oftentimes you have no idea.
Yeah.
It
was shocking to me and incredibly, incredibly humbling.
I think this is a great tool to use when looking to forgive self as well.
Yeah.
It's take an action. It just, whenever that karmic bank balance is filled up, it's filled up when we give, it's filled up when we forgive, it's filled up when we have gratitude. All of these are so important for our own mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really powerful. And it really is just about ultimately just letting go so that you can really be in connection and communion with.
Well, here's the thing that I see too when someone is choosing to not forgive, because it is, and I know that as, say, the event that we're speaking about, as it becomes bigger and bigger, more traumatic, it can be more difficult to let go and to forgive. Yet when we're holding on to things against people, against situations, and we're not forgiving, we're not letting go, one of the things to look at, everyone, is what do you get out of that? Like there's a little reward of something, whether you get to create some drama or you get to talk about it. And there's something that you get by not letting go and not forgiving. And oftentimes I have found it can be not having to look at our own place where we need to forgive ourselves. Like it's easier to look outward and just carry this grudge and this burden and not forgive. And yet there's something that we're holding on to around ourselves that we actually do need to forgive.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a distraction to our own work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really great way to make it about the other when it's actually, that's one of the times I believe, well, it's sort of a paradox. You're always dealing with the other and how you're relating to the other, but it's all about you.
Right.
And it's never about you.
Yeah.
It's not about you and it's all about you. And it's just basically the dichotomy that we live within.
Right.
And so it really becomes about both. Like you said, is like, it becomes it can be a distraction to look at the other and really make it about that.
Right.
It's all about that, the blame and that.
Right.
Many people who are on their journey are finding that, I'm actually a big part of this equation. And so then it turns all in on self.
Yeah, we don't want that either.
And that again is only half of the coin. It's really about both. It's about cleaning up that within yourself and also doing your work in the world to clean that up as well, whether that be just forgiving somebody or like we talked about, asking for forgiveness or going to feed somebody or whatever awesome gifts that you have to share in the world to make the place lighter and brighter and just more awesome for everybody to be in together. That's your work.
Exactly.
And that's part of paying off that debt. And if you get stuck along the way, it's usually because you're missing part of that side of the coin. You actually need both of those in a really profound way.
We can look at family members, friends, acquaintances. And the other piece I want to share is forgiving someone doesn't mean that you have to like them or hang out with them. Now, I wouldn't think it'd be so cool if we lived in a world where everyone liked each other and it was like Candyland and we could go to Gumdrop Land and the whole thing. But we are not in that world. Like, that'd be cool. Like, let's go to what is like Gumdrops and what else is on the Candyland board? You guys all see it in your head. I know you see it right now.
What is it? Like the Peppermint Forest?
The Peppermint Forest is just like, who doesn't want to live on that board forever? But we're not. In fact, our life is very much the opposite of Candyland. So I want to share that forgiving doesn't mean that you've got to go and actually like someone or agree with someone or even appreciate their personality because, there can be interesting folk out there that have opinions that are very different from ours. Maybe they're even somewhat abusive or stingy. What it means is you don't carry the baggage.
Yeah.
And if you need distance, you need distance. And you create that distance, yet you're not holding on to that tether because here's the interesting thing. You might be like, I hate that person. I never want to be around them. Well, if you're not forgiving, you are very much around them. You're in their field. You're hooked. You're tethered. You're getting more of their stuff in you than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And when you forgive and you let go and you understand that's who they are and you create the distance, they're not in your field like that. You will have so much more freedom.
Yeah. And here's another part of that. I hear oftentimes I need to cut the negative people out of my life. I need to get these negative people out of my life. Okay, maybe. And if you're still resentful of those folks, they're still in your life.
And there's a reason they came into your life. Yeah. Like we just have to always come back to what's our vibe? Why do we have quote unquote negative people? And I mean, this can be the next podcast. I think it's a great topic is how we see people is often, the attitude we give them can be the attitude they give us. Yeah. So there's a whole, there's a whole
thing there. But I do think there's a time and a place for that as well. Like that, especially again, I come back to the people on the journey. I think those are the people who are listening here. I think anyway, kind of finding our way along that. And when you're in a vulnerable state, especially at those beginning stages, often there's a vulnerable state around that of like, just your whole world is reorganizing. You're trying to figure it out. And it makes a lot of sense to just not have contact. You don't have to cut them out and write them a big long letter and tell them all the things that's wrong with them and why you can't handle them and what's wrong with you that you can't handle it and all that other kind of stuff. You can just you can just quietly kind of take a step back and have your own space so that you can get your feet on the ground and then figure it out from there. But at the end of the day, you can cut them out forever. And if you still hold that resentment within you, you're carrying the burden.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not about the other. It really is about you.
It always comes back to us. Yeah. Gosh darn it, guys.
But it's cool that you get to use the other in order to help resolve that for you and for them.
And for them.
Yeah.
You're really doing a service by forgiving others.
Yeah.
Like it's a great karmic bank balance.
It's a huge thing. One last place that I see this, because you mentioned the families, is, and it's something that we see a lot of in the U.S. in particular, I think all over the world, those divorce. And divorce where kids are involved. And so you've got the spouses and they're having this whole argument. Well, we never argue in front of the kids. Oh, but that's good. I very commendable. And inside your heads, you're literally doing violence on one another inside of your own heads. Well, that's an energy that's getting passed and forth. And those kids are super sensitive. You were just working with a little girl today.
Yeah.
They're so sensitive. Like they know this stuff. They know it all.
Yeah.
And they will take it on.
Right.
Because they just want everybody to be happy.
Exactly.
They're the little transformers that they're just going to take it.
You don't want your kids to be the transformer.
You will, if you're doing that if that's coming up for you in your relationship and you care about your kids, which I'm assuming that you do, it behooves you to clean that up as quickly as possible. Yeah.
It's such a good point here. The energy, if the thoughts are there, the energy's there.
Exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
really good.
It's a violent energy.
And what a compelling reason to forgive, create some boundaries, communication ways to manage, whether it's a divorced couple, family, friend, whatever. Just create it for the benefit of those little kiddos.
Yeah, yeah. And I can already hear in my head, I can hear the buts. Oh, yeah. But he does this and he does that. And oh my gosh, but she was so this and she was so that. And I get it. And if you really want some help with that, that is a little bit of a deeper conversation. So just reach out to us.
Yeah, for sure. Info@sourcemovement.com.
Send us an email and because we've worked with a lot of couples and it's, there's more to the story than just that.
Exactly.
But the simplicity of it is that
if
you're having that conversation in your head and you're passing that back and forth, you're exposing your child to that.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
And
and it's the same, when we don't choose as humans to forgive, we expose ourselves to that ongoing energy, negative energy, low vibe energy, whatever it is. We expose ourselves to it again and again and again.
Exactly.
It's just not worth it, guys.
It's not worth it. And it gives us what I see anyway, from my own limited perspective, admittedly limited perspective, is what I see is the opportunity of a lifetime, or lifetimes, if you want to look at it that way, but really and truly the opportunity of a lifetime to let go just a little bit more every single day and to make your peace within you and with those around you. Because that relational piece, that's one of the 6 pillars. The relational piece is one of the 6 pillars in your life. And it's really important to have that resolved. And it's a place of constant work.
Right.
In a really beautiful way.
I'll take a moment before we sign off, a little plug to the meditation pod. There's a great 5 meditations with purpose. We talked about it on the meditation episode, but it's kismaawake.com/meditation-pod. We'll put it in the show notes as well. There's 5 meditations and the last one is letting go. It's really, really good for forgiveness. So if you don't have it, it's $27. Go freaking meditate.
Yeah.
In a way, I'll guide you through it. The frequency's really good. The energy's really good. And there's, brain clarity, calm the chaos, abundance, healing, and letting go.
Yeah.
So you could stick on that letting go one for a year and feel really good.
Yeah. I think we could have a whole nother podcast about not just an episode, but a whole podcast series about forgiveness.
We could. Yeah.
It really is a beautiful practice and it just adds so much ease to your life.
It really does.
So here's my little exercise for everybody as we head out here is just write down 5 people that you already know that you need to forgive. Write it on a piece of paper and figure out what you need to do in order to let go.
Right.
Okay. Pick up Kisma's meditation pod if you need some help. Send us an email if it's a deeper thing and you really want to take a dive into that. At the end of the day, you must find a way. It's your job to find a way. We're here to help you. And this is what's going to really resolve everything for the higher, because we can get stuck in the chaos and keep getting sucked down, or we can really resolve this into the higher. And that's what we're here for. That's what Illumination Podcast is here for, everybody.
Get to the higher.
So there we go.
Thanks for being here, everyone. So much love, appreciation coming your way. Email info@sourcemovement.com if you have any questions, shares, or go to our show notes, illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. That's plural. And there's a thread below where you can comment and share. We'd really appreciate that. And as always, rate, share our podcast. We've got some amazing listeners out there, such as yourself. And whenever someone else comes on board, we know that they get a little dose of the teachings, and it makes the world a better place.
Absolutely. Sometimes they just need to hear it in another voice.
Yeah, right.
And the forgiveness one is another super shareable one. If you've got somebody that is just kind of sneak it on over, maybe in a sort of covert way, and see what happens.
So cool.
So thanks everybody for being here. We love you so much, and we will catch you in the next episode. Namaste.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.